Okay. You'll have to bear with me here because I've not done something like this, especially not with you guys before. I've got a camera on a tripod. I've got two lights on either side, thus the shadows. I'm hoping that when I'm drawing, you should be able to, let's see, maybe if I move these a little bit to the side. Oh, then I get a shadow here though. There we go, maybe like that. I'm trying to have a little amount of shadow on here as possible so that you guys are able to see what I'm drawing. I'm a little nervous that the bright light from the lights that I have is going to kind of cancel out the pencil that I'm using. So this is going to be a one-point perspective drawing. This is something that if you've had me in 5th grade, this is a 5th grade project. And right before spring break, we were about in the middle of our project here. We were learning about a famous artist, and we were applying his technique to the walls of our one-point perspective hallway. So today we're going to be making a school hallway. You don't have to be able to see a hallway in order to draw a one-point perspective. But if you don't want to do a hallway, maybe you're at home during all of this craziness, you could do your bedroom, you could do like your kitchen, you could do your living room. All you want to do is find a room, and it works best if you pick a room where you can see both walls and the ceiling and the floor. So what I mean by that is if you've got a huge living room or something like that, unless you're sitting at the very end of your living room, it's not going to be as easy. You can still do it, it just won't be as easy. As far as supplies that you'll need, obviously a pencil or something to draw with. It could be a pen, it could be Sharpies. The issue with a pen or Sharpies, though, is that you can't erase them, and there is erasing involved. There you go. My first mistake already. There is erasing involved in your project here. So if you don't have an eraser, or your eraser is no good, you might just have some extra lines on your paper. It's not a huge deal. It'll still look nice. It'll just look more like a technical drawing, like some kind of architectural drawing instead. Okay? So for those of you that are in 5th grade, we already started this project. We just never got a chance to finish it. For those of you that are in 6th grade, we did this last year. So you did a hallway. I would encourage you at home to do something else. Again, like I said, do your bathroom or your kitchen or your back porch or your garage or something like that. If you're in 7th and 8th grade, then we never did this project together because you didn't have me in 5th grade. So this is something probably brand new for you guys, and that's why I've asked everybody to get involved in this project, whether you're in 5th grade or not. So feel free to take a photo of your projects when you're done using your Chromebooks, and you can send those to my email. I will also try to figure out how to allow you guys to post your pictures maybe in the comments section if that's possible. Again, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm not going to lie to you and pretend that I do. This is all brand new to me, so I'm not even sure if that's a possibility, but I do think it'd be cool to post our work. If you're comfortable with showing it to other students, it'd be nice to post it all in the same area so we can see what people have done. And it might be more interesting because we won't all be doing a hallway then. So another thing you're going to need is a straight edge. It doesn't have to be a ruler. I know some of you guys might not have rulers at home. Hopefully everyone's got something to write with, pen, pencil, whatever. Stick of makeup maybe, I don't know. You might not have a ruler though, and so I'm not going to use a ruler for this. I'm going to use just a straight edge. So this is just a piece of wood that I got out of my garage. It's not necessarily straight because it comes from Menards, and Menards is not exactly known for having the straightest lumber. So it is curved a little bit, but it'll be okay. It'll work for what we want it to do today. So again, you don't need to have a ruler. You'll notice there's marks on here because I was practicing earlier because I didn't want to hopefully make mistakes in front of all of you guys. But we're going to start brand new. So pretend those marks don't exist. I don't know if I can erase on this piece of wood. Probably not very well. But we're going to use new marks anyway. Okay, as far as paper goes, some of you have said in your emails that you can't do sketches because you don't have paper at home. I understand that. Not everyone has a printer, and so not everyone has printer paper. So if you've got a sketchbook, hopefully you took it home with you when you had a chance to go into school. You'll notice I got this nice big page. This is watercolor paper because I like to use watercolor paper. But I snatched this out of the classroom when we had a chance, all the teachers had a chance to go into the classroom and get whatever supplies they may need. So being your art teacher, I thought, pencils, Sharpies, and paper were probably the necessities. If you don't have paper, you could use an envelope from the junk mail that you're probably getting in your mailbox. I'm getting a ton of junk mail. Just make sure that when you're getting the mail out of your mailbox that you are maybe spraying it down with Lysol or something, because germs, could potentially be transferred from your mailman or woman to you guys. So be safe with the whole germs thing. Another thing you could use, if you don't have a lot of mail or you don't want to work on an envelope because it's really small, is a cereal box. You can take the bag of your cereal out, you rip open the edges of the box, and then you've got a nice, the cereal boxes and like Pop-Tart boxes and things, they work nice because it's really thin cardboard versus like an Amazon box it'll still work, but it's a little bit thicker. It's like corrugated cardboard, and that's, it has a tendency for your pencil to like poke a hole through it. So using the really thin, cheap cardboard that you get with like a pizza box works really well. Those are all things that you guys could use instead. So feel free to experiment. You could even use a white pencil on the cardboard. That might make it show up better. Just be careful because white pencil is harder to erase, obviously. So, okay, enough of me talking. Let's get started here. 1 point perspective works the easiest when your 1 point is in the middle of your paper. But how do we know where the middle of our paper is? Well, what you're going to want to do is take your hopefully not super bent piece of wood here, and you're going to line it up with the corners of your paper. Now, I've showed some of you that if you don't have a straight edge long enough, you can, hopefully that shows up for you guys. I don't know if that actually is visible or not. Maybe I need to push a little bit harder to make sure. But let's say you have a ruler that's like this, and it doesn't stretch the whole length of your paper. You need to get down to the bottom corner, over here. But anyway, if you can't get from one side to the other, you could use your pencil in order to extend the edge. So what you do is you line this pencil up with the corner of your paper over here, and if it's pointing to the corner of your paper over here, then you know that this line is correct, and you can draw that line. So again, I said I wasn't going to use a ruler though, because some of you might not have rulers, so I'm just going to use this board. You could get like a 2x4, you could get, if you've got like if you've got a box, like maybe a cereal box, that you didn't rip open in order to use this, you could use the side of your cereal box, whatever you got to do. Be creative. We're all in a weird situation right now, so use what you can. Okay, dot in the middle then. That's how I know that that's where the middle of my paper is. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that it shows up, hopefully for you guys, but you don't want to make it big. We have some people in class that make their dot like the size of a penny. It's like that. You don't want it to be that big because then it's not going to be accurate. The smaller your dot is, the more accurate your drawing is going to be. So this is a little bit too big. I'm doing this on purpose though, so that hopefully you guys can see it on here. So what's next? We are going to make our door at the end of the hallway. So or wall, I guess it could be too. Here's where those marks on my ruler came from before. Those were on this side, right here and right here. I'm going to flip my ruler over to show you that I'm not cheating, and because we're doing this fresh, okay? And if you don't have a ruler, all you're doing is trying to make sure that your straight edge is parallel to something that you know is already straight. So hopefully if you are using a cereal box or a piece of paper at home, an envelope or whatever, it has a side that's straight. And if your ruler or whatever you're using the distance is smaller on one side and bigger on the other, well, obviously it's not straight. Now here, you can tell it's not straight. If you're really a perfectionist, you could measure to make sure it's exactly the same on either side. For us though, we're not going to worry about that too much. We're just going to eyeball it, and let's go with that. The smaller you make your rectangle that we're creating here, so I'm going to make a line right here because it's touching the line right there. And here's this line here, so I'm going to mark it right there. And I'm going to draw across. The smaller you make this, the more in the distance it's going to look like it is. So the bigger this is, the closer it is to you, and the smaller it is, the further away it is from you. Now, these two lines are important. They're the same as up here. We're going to slide this down until our ruler is horizontal, but also parallel to the edge of our paper here. So it needs to touch on both sides. That's why we made these marks. If it's like this and it's touching here and it's touching down here, but obviously this is not horizontal, then that's incorrect. You want to make sure you try your best to line this up as straight as you can get it. Again, we're not being perfectionists though. If you're off by a little bit, it's not a big deal, especially since you're doing this at home. So hopefully you're able to follow along. Hopefully this looks now like an hourglass figure. You know, you've got your sand up on top and it falls through this little area and it fills up down on the bottom here. What you're going to do next is connect the top line here with this corner, and same on this side. So when you're done, you should have a rectangle that is in the middle of your piece of paper. You could also do this project sideways. If you're doing a bedroom or something like that, it might be better to do it this way because you'll have a bigger wall. You'd also want this to be much larger because it's representing, in this case, this is a door. If you're doing your bedroom, this might be your wall, and you've got like your bed here and a nightstand, and you know, maybe there's a window or a poster of your favorite boy band. I don't know. Anyway, so door, or in our case, we're gonna make this into two doors. So I'm going to erase the inside of this door. Again, I am pushing kind of hard on my pencil so that hopefully it shows up for you guys. So erasing this might not work the best for me. Let's make this look like an actual door or two. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, if this is a hallway, which is what this whole project is based on, is a school hallway, this is going to be a door area so that you could, you know, push through here, and maybe it would lead to outside, maybe it would lead to another hallway, it could be whatever. I'm going to draw a line right down the middle, and again I'm trying to keep it this time vertically, but also parallel with the lines I've already drawn. So I've got a door here and a door here. Okay? One thing that I'm going to do, just because it's always kind of bothered me that I always forget to do this, and I just remembered now, is I'm erasing this little spot right here, and what I'm going to do is, using my made-up ruler here, I'm going to just put a little frame, throw my pencil, I'm going to put a little frame around my door. You might put a border around each of these windows. You might draw the wood texture, the grain of this kind of wood on your door. I'm not going to worry about that too much because I don't want to bore you guys to death watching me do all those details. But options for you. Okay, so far, except for our X that we drew, and putting our little dot in the middle, we've kind of not used this dot at all. This is the point from our 1-point perspective, which means except for something that is flat on the surface of your rectangle here, everything else is going to go to that dot. So, an example would be if we put a door on the side of our wall here. Okay, so let's do that. We are going to draw a vertical line and just like that. If we want this to be a door, we have to draw from the top of this dot, or sorry, from the top of this line right here to this dot. So I'm going to use my ruler here to line it up with the dot, line it up with the top of that line, and you can potentially draw this as big as you want it to be. So I'm not sure that shows up. Hopefully it does. I am trying to draw lightly though because I don't actually want mine to be this size. I want it to be a little bit smaller than that. So now what I'm doing is I'm, again, making sure my ruler is parallel with the edge of my paper. And I am going to draw that line down. And I'm pushing kind of hard this time. There you can see the part of my first line that I didn't want to use. And I can go back now. And I can push harder for that first line. I do need to sharpen my pencil. So let me go see if I can find a pencil sharpener.
2 hours later.
Okay, and we are back. So what kind of art teacher would I be if I didn't have a pencil sharpener at home? But don't forget, if you have a adult in the house, hopefully you do, then get them to see if they can sharpen your pencil for you if yours is getting dull. That is nice and pointy. Also, now it's all over my table. So, this could potentially be a door right now. You could, I'm going to do this very lightly because I'm not going to do mine this way. You could draw a line that goes down to this dot, and you'd end up with a door. So you've got the window, you've got the door knob right there. Something that's a little more interesting to do, and this is why I'm erasing it, is to make this be another hallway. A lot of times in a school, you might have one hallway that connects to your another hallway. So in order to make this where you could turn in order to go through there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the smaller line that I drew first, not the big vertical, the small vertical, and I'm going to line my ruler up parallel with my horizontal lines. So something like this. lot darker. That looks good. Nice to have a sharp pencil. And I'm going to do the same thing with the top of that line that I drew. There's the bump of my table that I'm hitting right there. Okay. So now, if I erase this bottom line only, it's going to make this look like part of a hallway. So you could potentially be walking, to your class, and you hang a left, and now you're walking down this hallway. Now, the nice thing when you're drawing a drawing like this is now a flat surface, the same as where you put your doors here. So if you wanted to put a door here, you can ignore this line, or a poster, or a bulletin board, or a fire extinguisher, or a drinking fountain, bubbler, whatever you want to draw here. You don't have to pay attention as much to this dot right here. So let's just do a classroom door. Starting to use our vanishing point more often. For our hallway, we are going to be putting in some lockers, because in our school we've got lockers all over the place. So we don't want it too far towards the top, because it's going to look really tall then, like a door. And our lockers are a little bit shorter, especially because we're in a middle school. So I'm thinking something a little more than half, probably about 3/4 of the way up, maybe a little bit less than that. And I'm going to draw a line that goes towards this dot right here. So something like that. I'm not going to make it go the whole length here, because what's going to happen is this is going to be my lockers, but the lockers don't go all the way to this door, because if they did, you wouldn't be able to open up this door anymore. So the lockers would be in the way. The next thing I'm going to do is make a little bit of a diagonal line. This doesn't have to go to this dot. In fact, it shouldn't go to that dot. It's just going to be a small line. It's not going to anywhere. It's just pointing down towards the floor. And then I'm going to connect the bottom of this line that I just drew. And I'm going to line it up with my dot here, and I'm going to continue it towards the edge of my paper. The reason for this line is to make it look like the top of your lockers are slanted or sloped. And at our school, the lockers are sloped so that you can't put your books from your other classes and things up on here. You have to actually open your locker to put your stuff away, or you can't throw food from lunch or whatever up there. So now what I'm going to do is connect the bottom corner of what I just drew down to the bottom here, and I'm actually going to go past the line I drew at the beginning by just a little bit, so that it looks like the lockers are sticking out from the wall. Then we connect the bottom of the lockers to this dot here again. We're lining it up, and we're drawing off the bottom of our page. If we erase this line here now, you'll notice I'm pushing even harder than I did before, because now I'm drawing lines that I know I don't have to erase, assuming that I don't make mistakes, which I make mistakes all the time. Teachers are not perfect, so that's okay. That's why we have erasers. So next, what I'm going to do is divide this into a couple of different lockers. So I'm going to draw my first one here and make it a little bit skinnier because it's going to be towards this door over here. It's closer to the vanishing point. So again, try to make sure that you're vertical. One thing that I should point out, to me it seems like common sense because I've been doing this for so long. For some people though, it's not. When you are holding a ruler, you don't want to hold it like this and then try to draw a line, because what will happen is as you go, you'll end up pushing your ruler to the side, and then it's not a straight line, and that defeats the whole purpose of using a straight edge or a ruler. So if you make an L shape with your hand, and you put your thumb on one side and your fingers on the other, that helps stabilize it so that wherever you are pushing on here, it's not sliding all over the place. It seems like it'd be something that everybody knows, but surprisingly, there's a lot of people that don't. So that's okay. Now you do. All right, at the top of our lockers here, I'm going to draw some vents. And that's so that when you maybe have gym class. When I was growing up in school, we had a swimming pool at our school. And one of the nastiest things was gym class. People would take their swimsuits or their towels and put them in a plastic bag and leave them in their locker. And then it gets like crusty. So we have vents here so that all of those wonderful mixtures of smells can escape and everybody can smell whatever you've got going on in there. So these are all lines that are going to this dot. The next thing that you might have on your locker would be the actual lock itself, and those are usually towards the middle of your locker. So what I'm going to do is draw a line, and it gets a little bit bigger on each one. Small, medium, large, large. And then I'm going to scoot my ruler down and try to make those lines about the same size. Small, medium, large, and large. And I'm going to connect these lines together here. Let's look at the lights here. So on the ceiling, we're going to put some lights on the ceiling. So what we're doing now is when we were working on the walls, any vertical lines were straight up and down, and any horizontal lines went to this point, our vanishing point. Now with the ceiling and the floor, it's opposite. So if you look at it sideways like this, ceiling, floor, and here's the walls now. Now these lines are going to be going to that dot. So to have our page like this, any of our vertical lines are now going to go to the dot, and any horizontal lines are going to be parallel with the horizontal line of either the top or the bottom of our page, or the horizontal lines that we have on our doors that don't go to this dot. So I'm going to draw a ceiling light here. So my horizontal lines now ignore this dot, and it's my vertical lines that are going to be going towards this one point, or a single point. So I'm going to draw a line like this, and on the other side I'm going to do the same thing. Technically, if you really want to be, I don't want to say professional, I guess more picky, what you might want to do is, let's see if you can see what I'm doing here. I'm marking on my makeshift ruler here the distance between the corner of my page and where this line came from, and on the other side of my paper I'm going to make a little dot, whoops, a little dot right there, and I can connect this dot down to this vanishing point here, and that is going to give me a line that is symmetrical. You want it to be the same on both sides, so symmetry. Just erasing these little extras here. Okay, so now these are the same going off on both sides, and what we're going to do is divide this into a couple of different lights that would be in the ceiling. So I'm going to start again, the closer to the vanishing point, the smaller something is. So let's go, and we'll put a line right here, and then we're going to skip a little space, and all we are going to do is erase the area in between that skinny set of lines that I drew right there. Next we're going to draw another line, but we're going to make the distance between the bottom and the top of this line a little bit bigger. And then we're going to make another skinny line, but the distance should be, again, a little bit bigger because we're getting further away from our vanishing point. So there are my ceiling lights. Now on your ceiling lights you could do this reflective thing. The issue is that I already did this reflective thing for my see-through glass, and so on my ceiling this isn't see-through glass. Ours is at our school is it's like a plastic, I believe, and it's like a little bit foggy, I guess. So I'm not going to do those lines there. You could. One thing that we do have on ours is a frame around each one. So if you wanted to draw that, you could. I'm going to leave it alone because this video is getting a little bit long right now. So let's work on the floor. On the floor here, you could do a wood grain pattern. You could do a tile pattern. You could do whatever your floor is made of at your school. So I think I'm going to go for tiles. And we're going to do some smaller tiles though. So what I'm going to do here is, actually I'm just going to use the same marks that I used up here. You don't have to do that. You could make them, maybe I will make them a little bit bigger. So I'm using a mark that I've already made, and I'm making a little bit, I'm making it double wide. And all I'm going to do is move my ruler as I go. If you have an actual ruler, you could, use the actual measurements. You could make these about 1.5 inches or 2 inches across. It would make more sense if you had a page that was, maybe 8 inches across, that you did 1 inch or every 2 inches. Take however long your page is and divide it up there. So this was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I'd have across, and then the other one is underneath my locket here, so you wouldn't see that. And I'm going to connect each of these to my vanishing point. in the corner of my locker, at the corner of my hallway here. You don't have to do that. That's just something that I like to do. And there you go. That's basically it. Now, for us, in 5th grade, we also learn about an artist. His name is Pete Modrian, and he does some of his, well, he does a lot of artwork, but one of the things he's most famous for is his taking art down to its basics. So he's got a bunch of horizontal and vertical lines, and they make a bunch of rectangles and squares, and then he colors them black or white or the primary colors. So if you don't know your primary colors, red, blue, and yellow. I'm not going to draw those on here right now, I don't think, because this has gotten long enough. But for those of you that are interested in it, you can look him up, and then what you would do is use your ruler, and if you're doing it on the walls, your horizontal lines go towards this dot, and your vertical lines go up and down. And all you do is you cut your walls into the pattern or the design of Pete Modrian's artwork. So you don't have to do that. If you wanted to do some kind of other pattern on the wall, bricks, or maybe your school might have like a bulletin board up here with some motivational posters, like a cat that says "hang in there" or whatever. That's all up to you. So this is a 1-point perspective hallway, and again, I challenge you guys to try to complete one of these yourself at home. And as far as coloring and shading and all that, that's kind of up to you guys. I'm not going to color mine because, again, you don't need to watch me color. We probably know how to color. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.